Hi, everybody. All right, just have a bunch of people coming in from the waiting room. All right. How's everybody doing today?
Pretty good. I'm glad spring is here.
I know. Wayne, I feel like you're always doing well. So every time I see you, you're very happy, very bubbly. So I like
I am. I am. I'm so fortunate to live where I live.
that's true. That is true. For
So
me,
I'm
not so much looking outside at the weather, but for you, yes.
I'm very grateful.
It's a good mindset. All right, let me pull this up. We are going to talk about my favorite topic. I'm sure some of you have
Uh-oh.
heard me talk about this before. All right, a few more people popping in. Just give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so I feel like today's session is today's session is going to be on collections, using them for buyers. And I feel like this is a good kind of follow-up. I'm sure some people maybe got Chirag's email yesterday about the video that was made for collections and kind of speaking about how this is a huge part of our pitch to buyers and why working with a Compass agent and also working with, a specific Compass agent is such a huge advantage to people right now. But with that being said, I've also seen collections not even be used incorrectly, just maybe not as utilized as they possibly can be whenever I've been working with either coaching clients one-on-one or in any of these group sessions. So that's what I'm going to chat a little bit about today. Any questions specifically that I can make sure I answer on collections that people have who are on this call? I don't want to go over too many, something that maybe seems too simple to some people, but if there's any specific questions, let me know. Not really. Okay, I'll jump into my whole thing then. So the first thing I always like to say about collections is that I kind of feel like this starts in a conversation. So I really like to have like a great process with my buyers. So the first kind of part of working with me as an agent when with my buyers is to have an initial conversation with them, no matter how they get in touch with me. It could be an email, it could be a text, someone just connected me with them. I always keep that first conversation pretty short. And I always direct them right into my process. So the first step for them to do is to fill out my buyer like intake form. And once they do that, I always let them know, once you've completed that, please let me know, or I'll get it back from the Google form. And then we can set up like a 30-minute to 45-minute proper consultation call. And I'm really happy that I have that as kind of part of my process right now, because I think going into July, if you're not already in a state or a market that uses these exclusive buyer representation forms, I really think that when we now all have to get that signed, what you really want to make sure that you're doing is you have someone in person, at least in my opinion, or on the phone, having like a really structured way of starting out with these clients so that you really are giving yourself the right amount of time and the right platform and the right space to be discussing all that you do or all that you're going to be doing for this buyer. So before a collection, this is just like one mistake that I would say I see being done a lot is people are so quick to set up collections for just anybody. And I think that sometimes this can really clog up all of like the notifications that you're getting. So like I know some people have like hundreds of collections going on. And if anybody's ever been subject to that too, it's like your Compass app is flying all over the place. You're getting so many emails about all these notifications that it's actually not benefiting the buyer that much because you're not making this as curated of an experience as possible. So that experience that I find a lot of Compass agents using collections for, to me, sounds very similar to what buyers can already do for themselves on Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, whatever some of these other websites are. It's not that hard for the savvy buyers that, in my opinion, are out there and now are being told that maybe they are going to have to be paying for a service. Let's air it out. I really want to make sure that they know that there is a value to me sending them certain properties. And there's a reason why I'm only letting certain properties get through to them in the collection, which I'll go through today about how I do that, so that they know that every house, after our discussion about everything that they're looking for, every house that is now being sent to them has been specifically picked by me because of a bunch of different nuances that only we know as agents, because we know our market so well, we know the inventory so well. So that's like a very specific thing that I always like to talk about in here. So it really, this conversation about the collection needs to start before, very early on in your process, so that you can learn as much as possible about your clients and make this as curated of an experience as possible for them in the collection that they're going to be getting. The next thing on that whole topic about having too many collections set up is that I find that agents add people in or create a collection for buyers that maybe they shouldn't be yet. Collections are work. Collections are something you really should be going in. I go in multiple times a day, making sure that everything that's been populated and then pushed through to my client, which you'll know what I'm talking about in a few minutes with that, are really, like I was saying, like things that they should be seeing. I cannot do that for 40 or 50 people. That's impossible. But I can do that for maybe in July and onwards for 5 to 8 clients who have signed with me and who have committed with me. So I'm very specific about when and who I'm setting up a collection for. So this is where Business Tracker kind of comes into play, in my opinion, because you have all those different columns in there that are basically just like your pipeline. So I make sure that anybody who's already gone through, the only person who's going to be getting this collection is someone who's gone through my process. So somebody who took the time, took the 30 minutes to 45 minutes to commit to me. We know what their timeline is looking like. And we have now set up a collection. So I really only have, and I could even like show you guys like my business tracker, I probably only have 5 to 7 collections that I'm really, really actively working with at this current moment. And it's a busy season right now because those are people who I know need to buy within like the next 3 months, or maybe not need, but really would like to transact in the next 3 months. I don't mind if you want to have a collection kind of set up for someone who's maybe just like, oh, if something pops up or in the next year or so, that's fine. Maybe you have a collection for them where it is just filtering through anything set on your criteria and you're not going in every day and really making sure it's something specific for what they want, because you probably don't even know exactly what it is that they do want. And they probably don't know that either. So the collections I'm going to set up with you guys today, which are like the review and hand pick setting, which is where you have to manually add in everything that populates based off of a certain criteria to your client, which is why I'm saying it can be a lot of work. Though I really only recommend doing that for people who have truly committed to you and you feel are a real client at that time, or a serious client at that time. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot of talking. If you've heard me talk about this before, it probably makes some more sense, but any questions on that? Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump in here and set up a collection. All right. Everybody can see my screen in here. We're all good. Okay. So by getting here, all that I did is I went over to the search, little magnifying glass over in the top left corner. And this is what my screen looks like because I have this set up to mimic my MLS. If yours does not look like this, you don't have this specific criteria here, you need to go into preferences up here in the top right corner, and you need to go into filters. So for me, where my region is, I'm in Westchester, right outside of New York. It also gives me like these NYC filters and then just basic Compass filters plus HGAR filters. HGAR is my MLS system. So this is going to mimic exactly how it looks like if I were to go in and search in the MLS. If you're newer to Compass or if you're just newer to using the platform, and you're in a region that has an MLS, I highly recommend having the mimic that because it will make it a much more seamless transition for you to be able to get in there and know where everything is. If I were to switch this over to the Compass filters, you can absolutely figure it out, but it's not going to look exactly like the MLS would. And you might be looking for a certain like text box that you have or you've always been used to searching for in the MLS, and it doesn't have it here. So now you feel like your criteria is a little bit thrown off. That is a question I get emailed all the time. It's like, Kate, it doesn't look like this. I'm like, switch the filters. All right, so here, let's set up a collection. So let's say I had a buyer who just went through the whole consultation call with me. They want to buy in 3 to 6 months. I'll just say they want to buy for the new school year, let's say September. So this is a client who's now searching with me in my business tracker. We've committed to one another, and I'm going to go and set this up. Their budget is up to $1.5 million. For us, we're very school district oriented. I'm in the suburbs. So maybe they've given me a list of 4 different school districts that they'd like. And they need a minimum of 3 bedrooms. So that is the search I'm going to do. So I would do $1.5 million minus there. Sometimes also if I have a good feeling that they're not going to get something for under 900 for what they're looking for, let's just say I wanted to do that. I would do 900 to $1.5 million. Minimum of 3 bedrooms. Say they also said minimum of 2,000 square feet. And then for me, I would go in here and I would put in the school districts, school districts that we talked about. This and Bedford. All right, great. So really quick way that you can kind of check if you did everything the right way is if you only have 35 results. Obviously, if you're, this is just like, I really do try and narrow in what their criteria is going to be in these consultation calls, which is probably a conversation for another day. But I never want a house swing in here that has like 150 results. That I really want to make this as curated as possible. And the reason for that, when you see in a few minutes of when I do this review and hand pick, I don't want hundreds of things or hundreds of houses or condos or whatever it might be populating in that pre-filter where I need to sift through. So I'm trying to make this as specific as possible for myself. So then this is all set up. You'll go up here. This is like a newer looking button. If it looks a little bit different, they updated this, I think, last week. So you drop down and let me see. Hold on. Save as a collection. So they just changed this on me. Okay, we're going to do this together now. So I'm going to do save as a collection. Before it used to say save search as a collection. We're going to do this together and make sure it does what I want it to do. I'm going to add in my client, which is my fiance. He has about 1 million of these set up. And I would just say Northern Westchester search. This is the magic button, as I call it. So instead of it saying automatically share new listings, I'm going to click review new listings and handpick. Let me make sure this is, okay, yes, this is the right thing. So basically what this is going to do, it's going to now add 3 columns. You're going to see it's going to say, I think, review, shared, and then trash. So what the client is going to see, and you'll see this in one second, is they're only going to see the ones that I've shared. They're not going to see everything that Kate still has to review. This is why I'm saying you don't want to have 40 of these set up, because you're going to end up basically having a consumer on the consumer version. You're going to have something that doesn't have a lot of things that have been pushed through. So you really want to make sure you're on top of these. Now I'm going to do save as collection. Great. You know, I wonder if Compass found out that every single time I did this call, I would say, wouldn't it be great if they didn't make us save it as a search to then save it as a collection? Because now they just fixed this, which is great. So maybe my hundreds of comments on that worked. So now you'll see what I was talking about. So you have this unshared, that's what it's called, shared and trashed. The client, you'll notice, is not in this yet. I still have to go in and invite them. But that's fine. So basically what I did before by putting in their name is that's linking it to their business tracker folder or file. So now this search is embedded in Matt's buyer folder in business tracker. So when I go in and I click on his name in business tracker, and you can see everything that's ever been associated with him, any notes you have, any tasks, any searches or collections, any offers, all the compliance, that's how you start to link everything together. So we did not add the client yet, which is good because I have nothing shared. So right now, from my view, because I'm an agent, I'm seeing all 35 of these, but he's seeing nothing. So if I added Matt into the collection right now, which I know is like instinct, like, okay, let's get the client in here and then do that. He's not going to see anything. It's going to look like Kate Bauer, your agent, invited you to this collection that has nothing populated. So I would first be sifting through and adding in houses so that once he's in, he's actually seeing things. So I would start going through this and adding in the matches from here. Okay. One already went. Great. Okay, so let's say these were all the matches I wanted to do. Gonna go up here and click share with client. And then all the rest of these I decided are not matches for whatever reason. Maybe they already went to highest and best offers, they're on a main road, whatever we've discussed in our consultation call or just from getting to know them of why these are not matches, I'm gonna go ahead and trash. So now let's take it back one step to actually why I'm doing it this way. On paper, all of these houses, all 35 of them, match the criteria that I put in to actually get this search set up. But for some, whatever reason it might be, because of all the knowledge that I have in the market, I decided that only 7 out of the 35 were actually going to be a good fit for them. That's creating a curated experience for somebody. That's why clients are hiring us. They don't need us to go in and say, okay, 4 bedrooms, 2,200 square feet up to this price in this school district. They can do that for themselves. So what we're trying to create here is a very specific experience to them where that's actually going to be saving them time. So now they have their 7, and these are 7 houses that I would actually go to show. This morning, it's actually so small anecdote, but I think it's actually very helpful. My clients are those ones that just cannot get off of Zillow. They cannot get over. I get different listings all the time. They're in a collection just like this. I ended up having to have almost a 25-minute long conversation with one of them about a house that was in unshared. I didn't share it with them because I knew it wasn't going to be for them because it had high power lines going over it that obviously the photographer shot around. And it was on a different side of town that I knew that they were not going to want to live in because of other reasons that we had already discussed. And it wasn't close to town. It wasn't close to the train. It wasn't close to all these different things. There's so many reasons why this was not the right house for them. But I had to have a 20-minute long conversation about why it wasn't, just to get right back to where we started. So typically, if you didn't have this review and handpick in here, what it's going to look like to them as the consumer, and you always want to like flip this in your head, is Kate Bauer just had a 45-minute long conversation with you about what you're looking for and decided that 35 of these homes are a good match for you, including this one on King Street here that I'm pretty sure is a multifamily or something. Totally not what they wanted. So I know that Compass just generated all of these because of the criteria I put in, but try to explain that to a consumer. So that 20-minute long conversation I just had about, oh, well, this is why I didn't add it and this is whatever, I would have to do that maybe 35 times or 28 times on houses that I knew were not good matches, but got populated anyway. Sorry to be like really beating this in to everybody today, but like this is so important because on the consumer side of things, Compass is branding it that we have approved all these listings. So now what could happen, obviously, I'm going to just take this one step further. I share all those listings. Now they end up saying, okay, great, this looks good on paper. This looks good in the collection. I want to go see it. So now I'm taking them to, let's say, maybe 5 to 7 houses on a Saturday. I already know that 4 of them they're not going to like. So now I'm going and wasting my time there. And I get this question a lot. Like I'm known for really being able to like sell somebody a house or find them their match, whatever it might be, in like 2 weekends of showings. Because the houses I'm showing them have been so heavily researched and I'm so dialed into what my clients are looking for that when I go and show them 2 houses in a weekend, they're most likely going to be making an offer on one of them or both of them because there's been so much pre-research done. So I'm not spending that much time showing people houses that they don't actually want to see or that are not going to be a good match. That's my whole thing on that. But this is how the collection starts that because this is our way of communication with the client. So now I'm going to go back to here, and a really important thing that I try and do every single day, if I can, is clear out this unshared. So if you want to click on all of these at the same time, click on this box up at the top, and I'm going to trash them. Just the second page, I'm going to trash them. Now, it's Thursday, now tomorrow, if I go in and I get a notification that something just came in here, I'm only having to clear out maybe 2 to 3 of these a day because I'm staying on top of it. So it's a very organized and kind of a clear way for me to be starting fresh every morning. Once these are in here, you can start leaving all of your comments. My Kate tip for you is try not to add something like 3,000 square feet or how many bedrooms it is. They can already see that information, but maybe try to add information such as I was just discussing before on the one I had on the phone call. Hey guys, I know you can't really see it here, but there are high power lines that go over this road. Just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. because we know to go in and check the satellite and look at that satellite images and look at that, but they might not know that. Maybe you say, oh, this house was on the market last year. It's a relocation. Or, hey, just went to the broker tour of this on Tuesday. The primary doesn't look like it's that small, but it really was in person. They only can fit a queen size bed in there. I know we had discussed that that's a really important room to you. Just want to let you know because it's a little hard to tell from the pictures. I'm trying to add in like very specific information for them. And also trying to really have control over that narrative. If there's a house that I really think is going to be a great match for them, I'm really trying to build up that house in here so that they're really excited when they come to see it that weekend. Lots of different things in here, like this was a very specific builder in town, so I know that that's great construction. Maybe it's a new construction that you're not so fond of the builder, but they don't know those nuances. Those are the type of comments that I want people to get used to thinking about. That you can go in and leave in here. You're really trying to show your value through this collection. So make sure that you're taking time and you're not rushing through setting a lot of these up. I know everybody's probably thinking in their head, oh my God, Kate's like totally beating this till the end, but you have no idea how many collections I jump into, and I can tell that they're rushed, and the client's going to feel like they're rushed. So you really want to take your time. It might take me an hour to set up an initial collection because maybe I'm adding in, if there's not a lot of inventory at a certain time, maybe I'm adding in some pending or sold listings that I'm putting in here, dropping some comments as to why I think that this maybe would have been a great house for them, or it's a good data point to know in their head that that one went 15% above the asking price. And so I'm getting them familiar with the market, even though I don't have active inventory to be showing them or to be adding into this collection. So this collection is a really, really, really great tool, but I think it can feel very daunting to some people. So once this is all set up, I'll go in and I'll press invite right up here. Got one more person adding in. Press invite up here. I would add Matt in. By the way, I always make this joke, but I'm telling Matt that I'm like convinced I want to move again. And I add him into one of these collections once a week, basically on these calls. So I think he's getting the hint. He's like, Kate, I'm set up in 8 of these Matt Hegarty's Northern Westchester search. All right, so now he's in here. The client, you'll see here, has not accepted their invitation. It was just sent 1 minute ago. They're going to be on the consumer side getting an invitation saying that I just invited them to this collection. They'll press accept the invite, and then they can either view this on a web or on their app if they get the Compass app and make an account. And then they can start dropping comments. You can request tours in here. There's a whole bunch that they can do from the consumer side of it, and clients really, really like it. Something that I will suggest to somebody, if you're not really sure what that consumer version looks like, it's great to be able to maybe practice. So for Matt specifically, let's say maybe my fiance, I've done this with him a lot. I'm like, listen, can I add you into a collection, especially when I was first getting familiar with the Compass tech? And can I just look through what that looks like on your phone, accepting the invitation, what that brings you to? How do you download the app? How do you make an account? How do I drop a comment? How do I request a tour? Really starting to view it from their end will also make this handoff much easier. But if you're not really confident in what the technology is, or you're not really comfortable about what their viewpoint's going to look like, it might be kind of difficult to troubleshoot things if they're having some trouble getting into the collection, which is also comments I get from people. So I know it's a lot of information, but I do, especially because I am an agent myself and a coach, I like to give you the agent brain from this of how it actually works when we're out in the field with clients. Any questions I can answer on best practices or anything about setting up, a collection for a buyer. All right. Feel good about this? It's recorded, so you can go back through. All right, awesome. Well, I will let you guys go then. It's just about 12 o'clock for me, New York time. If you guys have any questions, you let me know. Well, let me see. I just got one. The any difference between Android and iPhone? I've not looked at it through an Android, but I'm sure it looks very similar, but it might be good to take a look on if you know anybody with an Android who can maybe you can practice that with to see what it looks like. But I've definitely had clients who've done it on an Android and have never had any issues. If their significant other also had an iPhone, it looked pretty much the same. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys. I will see you next week.